Mel, you're on.
Hello there, everybody. This is Mel Allen. Coming up on This Week in Baseball, in Chicago, rookie catchers help Cubs catch pennant fever. Bay Area Bombers.
If I can hurt some teams with my bat, that means they have to pitch to Kevin and Will. And if they have to do that, then they're really in trouble.
Blue Jay phenom comes through brain surgery with flying colors and gets his name in the big time. That gets a call. Plus all on This Week in Baseball. Hey, don't catnap against the Giants. No one knows that better than Cincinnati skipper Tommy Helms, whose team was winning big.
2-2 pitch hit well to left field. Nixon is at the fence, and it is gone. And it is 7-0. The fireworks again here in the sky.
After 6, the lead was 8-0, and the Reds figured to wrap this baby up with no problem. But come the 7th, Will Clark started the Giants off on a wild comeback with a home run. And then in the 8th inning, Roger Craig's bench really busted out. Mike Laga gave Will Clark a rest, and on his first pitch of 89, brought the Giants within 4 runs. In the 9th, Chris Spire, the 4th pinch hitter of the inning, came up with the bases loaded.
Base hit center field. Litton scores, then it's an 8-5 ball game.
The Giants scored 3 more to tie it up. Then came the hero of the night, Mr. Laga.
1-1 pitch. Base hit right field. Gurlt scores. The Giants lead 9-8.
9 runs in 3 innings. And now on comes bullpen ace Steve Bedrosian to close out the comeback.
Collins to second base. On to first, and the Giants have won it.
A comeback courtesy of pitching and power. As a matter of fact, this year's Wallopers bring to mind San Francisco teams of the 1960s, whose teams were packed with so much power, they even wrote a song about them.
There's a long drive to deep right center field. Way back it goes, and tell it bye-bye, baby!
When the Giants come to town, it's bye-bye, baby. Every time the chips are down, it's bye-bye, baby.
Giants fans were wild about their thunderous threesome. Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Jim Ray Hart. That trio once combined for 114 homers and 300 RBIs. These days, the Giant sluggers are, of course, Kevin Mitchell and Will Clark, who've already teamed up for more than 60 homers and 200 RBIs. And then there's young third baseman Matt Williams. He makes 3 sluggers in a row. This year in the minors, he hit 26 home runs. And since he was called up, 15 more. Ample evidence that he'll pack plenty of punch into the number 5 slot.
I think the 5th spot is good for me. I want to drive in runs. I want to have those guys on base when I come up and have the opportunity to do that. I haven't done it as much as I'd like to, but at times I've showed that I can. And if I can hurt some teams with my bat, that means they have to pitch to Kevin and Will. And if they have to do that, then they're really in trouble.
As I look into the future and you see guys like Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell and Matt Williams hitting back-to-back for the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to be something special. Because this guy, next year, he'll hit 25, 30 or more home runs in the major leagues, and I think he's the best defensive third baseman in the league.
Matty has tremendous power, still has a few things to learn. Basically, just to swing at strikes and also not to be hard on himself. But sometimes when you're young with a lot of ability, you expect a lot out of yourself in a short period of time, but he's going to be one of the best in the league.
And so, with that kind of 3-4-5 punch, the Giants have brought back an old refrain.
When the Giants come to town, it's bye-bye, baby. Every time the chips are down, it's bye-bye, baby.
Meanwhile, the first-place Cubs have said hello to a pair of rookie catchers who've got things pretty well covered behind the plate in the absence of #1 catcher Damon Berryhill. He may be pretty tough to replace, but Joe Girardi and Rick Rona have been holding down the fort, which pleases no one more than the pitchers.
Those two have done outstanding for us. With Damon Berryhill going on DL, you know, it was a big loss for us, but they've come along and done a great job. They know the pitchers. They've been with us in, you know, the past 2 spring trainings, so they know what everybody throws. Joe and Rick, those down there in the minor leagues, they know what all the guys throw down there, and they both split time up here, so they got the experience we need.
We hang out together, and we've been playing every other day pretty much, and so we work out together and talk about the hitters and just come ready to play.
It's really exciting for Rick and I. We're trying to work very closely with the coaches and Dick Pole and the pitchers, trying to work together as best as we can. And before, when Damon was here, he was helping us both out, you know, as much as he could. But, you know, it's great for Rick and I, and we're getting a lot of exposure.
And although they're new at the rough and tumble of the majors, it helps getting advice from manager Don Zimmer.
I think he works a little closer with Rick and I than he did with Damon, because Damon had a little more experience. And, you know, he's very positive with us, and he tells us what he wants done, and we just try to carry on what he wants done. And he's been very easy to work with, and he's very positive.
Surprisingly enough, being rookies in the pennant race hasn't been all that intimidating.
I think they're handling it pretty well. I think, in a way, they're not really sure what's going on. They're not sure what they're into, and that's good for them. It's such an unusual situation that they don't know how to react, and so they just, to them, it literally is just another game. Now, this may change as we get down to the nub of it, but for now, I honestly have not seen them react, you know, with any sort of nerves or anything else. I mean, they make mistakes because they're rookies, not because they're nervous or anything.
Looky, looky, looky. Oh, to be a rookie and heading down the stretch in first place. Now, this week's quiz brought to you by today's Chevy truck. In his career, Andre Dawson has hit 2 or more homers 30 times. Who's done it the most in one season? From bottom to top, the A's are rich in pitching, and Mike Moore makes them even richer. Though he's had a tough spell lately, Moore is having the best season of his career, which began as the nation's #1 pick 8 years ago.
Seattle Club selects right-hand pitcher Michael Wayne Moore from Oral Roberts University.
Moore was the first right-handed pitcher ever to be drafted #1 in the nation. He signed with Seattle, but they didn't win, and neither did he, of course. Then came free agency and a decision to go to Oakland, a choice that didn't surprise one former teammate.
Once he got his opportunity to leave, he expressed interest in Oakland right away. He said, Oakland is the team I'd love to play for. Then he shared this with me, and he said, boy, if they were to come knocking, I'd sign with them. And sure enough, Oakland was, you know, quick to sign him.
We were looking at a number of different free agent possibilities. A lot of people expressed some interest in coming to Oakland, but Mike Moore, I think, determined very early on in the process, was sincere about it, and we went after him almost exclusively.
And now the A's have a Cy Young candidate who has 16 wins, the 3rd best ERA in the league, and a brand new pitch.
Basically, I've always been a power pitcher, fastball, slider, occasionally I'll throw a slow curveball and a changeup. This year, about 5 or 6 starts into the year, I started messing around with a split finger fastball or a forkball, and that's became a pretty good pitch for me.
Bottom drops out of this baby. Just has good location, starts at about knee-high, and then just dips it into the dirt.
That seems like the pitch of the 80s. If you get away with that, new thing on the scene, and he's winning.
Came back with it again and struck him out. He didn't throw
throw it easy either. He fires that thing.
When I don't always have good command of my fastball, if I don't have a good slider, it gives me another pitch that I'm usually around the plate with, and it just gives hitters something else to put in the back of their mind to think about.
The 3-2, it's a fork ball, and that does it. Hitting it. Mike Moore ends it that way with a strikeout because the fork ball has been a great pitch for him tonight.
I just think the thing that surprised me is the life that he has in his fastball. I mean, he can throw some fastballs that just seem to explode and take off, and I never recall, seeing that pitch when I was up there hitting against him. I knew he had a decent fastball and he had a good slider, but catching him, there are some fastballs that he is just completely throwing right by hitters.
This time it goes down because Mike Moore just flat threw it by McGruff.
Nothing is made more happier than pitching for a team that has the best record in the majors.
As much as all ball players desire to play at the big league level, the bottom line is they want to have the opportunity to win on a big league level, and this is my first opportunity, and I'm really enjoying this year. It's been a lot of fun.
Fans know pitchers have had more fun than Baltimore's outstanding crop of youngsters. Only thing is, not many know who they are. Best known is probably Greg Olson, who broke the league's rookie record with 24 saves. But he's only one pitcher. What about the starting rotation that has 3 rookies? Fans may not be able to name them, but rival teams in the American League certainly can, can't they?
Now that you think of it, probably not. Let me think. Schmidt, we got Bilicki. Well, you're getting me now.
Well, Schmidt was in the starting rotation. Ballard. I got 3. Isn't that good enough?
Jeff Ballard, Pete Harnish, Bob Malacky, and let me say...
Harnish. Is that 4? Okay. Sorry, Pete. Got your last.
No question. No idea. Right. I couldn't name them all if I tried.
Malacky, Brian Holtman. Help me out.
If opposing hitters can't name the Orioles starters, can a pitcher?
Jay Ballard, Harnish, Johnson, and Malacky.
Nice try, but it's Jeff Ballard, not Jay. Now let's open the notebook for this week in baseball's TWIB notes from around the majors. Fred Lynn reached a milestone with this blast.
Lynn drives it deep to right field. It is a home run for Fred Lynn, a rocket. Number 300 for Fred Lynn.
Yet another plateau for the one-time MVP and Rookie of the Year, who's glad he chose baseball.
Probably the best advice that I received was to quit football. When I was at University of Southern California, I went there on a football scholarship, and I was kind of torn between playing football and baseball. I played my freshman season football, and then I got some, I thought some pretty good advice at the time, was to, concentrate on baseball, and that's probably saved me.
Nothing could save Mets catcher Mackie Sasser from his throwing problems. Sasser had trouble throwing the ball back to the pitcher in a game against the Giants, and they took advantage of it.
And Butler goes to third base on the throw of Sasser back to Cone. You talk about alert.
Unable to overcome his chronic throwing problems, Sasser again was a victim of Giant aggressiveness.
And a quick move by Clark, and he steals third base.
Leaving Davey to ponder that, we're going to go to the answer to this week's quiz, brought to you by today's Chevy truck. In 1938, Hank Greenberg hit 58 homers, including 2 or more a record 11 times. How about that? Welcome, Blue Jay phenom John Olerud, who's made the jump from college junior to major league rookie. And yet getting there took a small miracle. A pitching and hitting star at Washington State Olerud was Baseball America's College Player of 1988 when he hit 23 homers and won 15 games. But the next January, a brain aneurysm put his life in jeopardy.
The first thing that happened was I had the collapse. You know, they brought me in there and they were, you know, doing all these tests on me and stuff. And, you know, they were looking for an aneurysm and they couldn't find one. So I was, you know, really happy about that and thinking that I could probably come back for the beginning of the season. And then my dad brings me back to Seattle and run some more tests, and I do find something. And I was just kind of hoping, you know, I'd make it through the surgery and stuff. And I came through in flying colors, and everything's been great. So yeah, there were a couple of times where there was some disappointment, but there were mostly times when I was just happy, you know, things were working out the way they were.
Just 2 months after surgery, Olerud was back with the Cougars, and though his ranking dropped, he was drafted by Toronto. But he had other plans.
Going through the summer, I really planned on going back to school. I felt like I needed the off season to get my strength back, and I had had a, you know, good thing going over at Washington State. You know, it's just great to be a Coug.
But he decided it was even better to be a Blue Jay, and 2 weeks ago signed with Toronto. A gamble the organization feels will pay off.
John Olerud is a real special case. You go out and see a lot of players, you know, over the last 20 years, and you see a guy like this probably only comes around once every 5 years. And, you know, I put him in the same class really as Bob Horner and Bo Jackson. So when you see a talent like that, you know, you kind of feel that you wish he was a part of your ball club. So we took a chance, and over the last 2 months, he's really, I think, gained his strength. I think he's probably 95% right now, and I think he's going to be a factor down the road for us in the future. We're always looking in the future and trying to keep our club as young as possible, and this is just another example of a guy we think is a great talent and a guy that we think is going to be a star for us in the future.
I think the first day he took batting practice here, he hit about 65 balls, and I think 43 of them were line drives. And he looks like he's going to be a good hitter. Nice, short, compact swing, and he's a super kid. He's a good person, too. He's a real nice, quiet kid.
A quiet kid who got himself a souvenir on his very first Major League at-bat.
There it is, ground ball, hits it hard, off his glove, a base hit. Way to go, John Olerud. And the fairy tale continues for this young man. First Major League at-bat, comes up with a hit.
Welcome to the majors, John, and not bad for your first hack with a wooden bat. Now, our Player of the Week, brought to you by New Thrive. We salute Cal Ripken, the first shortstop to hit 20 homers 8 straight times.
He drives it to deep left center field. Back goes Kamenz to the warning track. Leaps and he has it. He falls over the fence. That's giving it the old college try.
Sorry, Brad Kamenz, but once it's over, which was good news for Ripken.